And welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, new viewers, etc. We are back to a format similar to what we used to do. And we're looking at a 193 angstrom view of the local yellow dwarf, otherwise known as Sol, or perhaps the Sun. Let's look at some close-ups. And we are in geomagnetic unrest conditions, by the way. And first, let's head to HelioViewer, look at the fields. Small area of magnetic looping up here in the northwest. Otherwise, no sunspots. No significant coronal holes except the South Pole one. And we'll zoom in on that in a moment. There is the animation of the fields here on HelioViewer. And we made some HelioViewer movies as the South Pole coronal hole is large and in charge. So there's a close-up of that, a custom movie from helioviewer.org. And that's 193 angstroms. Large South Polar coronal hole. Next we're going to look at the north a little bit. Here's 171 angstroms. And you see a little bit of activity up there. Again, no sunspots. And we are at a KP of 4 right now, folks. So geomagnetic unrest. And it's caused strictly by magnetic effects, not by any sort of solar wind density or anything like that. Anyway, there's the 304 angstroms view of the northern polar region. And we'll be talking a lot about solar poles. Let's get into some data. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, still at 71 solar flux units. Have you checked out smAsho.com/forum? We've got all kinds of topics on there. Different forums about cosmology, Earth and geophysics, general science, the sun, etc. And up to 169 users, so shout out to Abigail Hiller 9. Thanks for creating a login, and please feel free to post. Let's talk about Alzheimer's. The tau protein. The tau protein is looking more and more important. We do human health stories on smAsho.com/forum. So check it out. Here is an article about how this tau protein is involved with Alzheimer's type brain proteins. So amyloid plaques are a well-known factor. I'm just going to let this scroll down here. You folks can read it just by pausing the video, I guess. And we are putting the full video today on YouTube. Check out smAsho.com/forum. And please, make a topic. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you want to talk about when it comes to cosmology, astrophysics, the sun, etc. We've created a new topic just this morning called the Solar Events Logger. And we're looking at things like coronal mass ejections and other solar events. So here's one. We're starting out with this article from SciTech Daily about 10 amazing discoveries from the SDO. And I've included an image of the Gong 2 to show you what's going on that day. We're talking about the day of June 4th. Actually, it happened on June 7th. So June 7th, 2011. And we've loaded up an animation here of the Gong 2 data, a bunch of magnetometer data, showing you how the sun looks when it's at a period of higher levels of activity. And there was a coronal mass ejection, a very large one, that happened on June 7th, 2011. And what we're doing here is we are going to study some stuff in more depth. And part of the way we're doing that is with the Solar Events Logger. So perhaps check that out. It's smAsho.com/forum. And there is a link to it at smAsho.org. Let's go back to current data. KP index is at 4, and there you see the update. We don't really see any significant X-ray flaring there. Pretty much flatlined as far as X-ray flux goes. And here's what we're talking about with the solar wind. We don't see an uptick in the density or the speed, but we see an uptick in the BT-BZ. So the BT is the measurement of the total solar B field. The BZ is the orientation toward a pole. So right now we have a very highly oriented South Pole field, associated with a large BT. So what we're seeing when we see a geomagnetic unrest conditions here is chiefly a magnetic effect, not from something like solar protons. Phi angle currently around 249 degrees. Solar wind density still at 3.7 protons per cubic centimeter. Recently popped up to 4.75 as we did show prep. Solar wind speed 384 kilometers a second. And let's take a look at the geospace magnetosphere movies, as again, we are currently in geomagnetic unrest conditions. And there you can see some oddities in the shape of the equatorial plane view. And that is chiefly a magnetic effect, folks. And you can see some very odd anomalous shapes going on there, especially on the equatorial plane, which is a view from above or from below the Earth, as opposed to the meridional plane where you can see north and south are the top and bottom of the image, whereas on the equatorial plane view, dawn and dusk are the top and bottom of the image, showing you which way the Earth's rotating. The sun would be off to your left for you new viewers out there. And we leave links to all of these pages. Some very oddly shaped scenarios going on there. And let's take a look at ground magnetic perturbations. And we see major ground magnetic perturbations here. We're looking at delta B here. In other words, changes in the Earth's B field, the B field being the field that goes through the magnet. Notice the spiral shape of the perturbations there around the poles, as there is apparently a Birkeland current coming out of both ends of the planet as well as going into both ends of the planet. And let's look at the globe view here so you can see all the magnetic pulses around the world. We see the Canadian North Pole drifting very far south down toward the Great Lakes. The Siberian Pole looks like it's staying in place. And the South Pole looks like it could be splitting into two, as we see one of them heading up toward Australia. And we see major perturbations there south of South America as well. And we see these pulses coming out of the Pacific Ocean, as we've been seeing, south of Hawaii, right on the equator. And we also saw an oddball earthquake pretty much right on the North Geographic Pole. We'll get to it in a minute. And I'll let this play through again, as there is a lot of geomagnetic perturbations going on during this period of geomagnetic unrest. Don't worry, folks, we're going to have our thumbnails back to normal pretty soon. Let's talk about cosmology real quick. A sub-millimeter survey of protostars showing astronomers that they don't know how stars form. And so we've never seen a star form, and we've never seen a star die, and yet mainstream astronomy arrogantly believes that we know how these things actually form and all about their life cycles and so on. So perhaps read the article here on phys.org. Again, we'll leave links in the description below the video. We'll leave links to it in the description below the video. It's NCC 1333, located in the constellation of Perseus. And basically the conclusion is these first core protostars form the most complete public survey of its kind. So there should be more information coming out about this soon, about star-forming regions in galaxy NGC 1333. Have you decided to press like and subscribe on YouTube? Did you press that notification bell on the off chance that you may actually receive notifications when our videos go up? Well, please do. And also, there's going to be exclusive content coming out on the regs at BitChute. It's bitchute.com/smAsho, as we're almost at 100 subscribers, and we're getting nearly as many views there as we are here on YouTube or here on BitChute, depending on where you're watching, because this video will be in both locations, and don't expect that to be the case for everything. Next, we'll look at the 30-minute aurora forecasts, and we should see some significant auroras kicking up here. And you should be able to see the time and date stamps there as well. We'll let that play through the entire video there. Surprisingly weak auroras, actually. And they're just powering up a little bit in the past few minutes. And the GOES magnetometers are continued spiky. GOES magnetometers are remaining in a spiky format here, and it's all been forecasted on our channel. If you didn't watch the old videos, if you don't believe me, go watch the old videos. And here's what the Gong 2 looks like now. A very quiescent sun, South Pole almost entirely in charge of the heliospheric current sheet polarity, shown here in red. Keep in mind this data is 1 hour and 54 minutes old, and that the magnetic environment can change with no warning at all. In other words, a sunspot can suddenly appear, a coronal hole can suddenly appear, etc. Links to this also below the video. Relativistic electrons, that's the greater than 2 mega electron volt electron flux, is back to low to moderate levels. And there is the GOES electron flux, cratered as forecasted. And this is going to stay low until we see some more solar activity here, as we're in a slight proton deficit. Next we'll look at the ionosphere, and this is 6 hours of data. Courtesy Government of Australia, Bureau of Meteorology. And it's looking pretty normal, except for the charge ups in the South Pacific, down in this region here. And we're kind of back to anomalous ionospheric charge ups over that region around 30 latitude. And you'll see a charged up ionosphere at nighttime. Let's just bring up the latest image here. Daytime side is looking more normal than the nighttime side, and you can see those charge ups down there south of Hawaii. The same place magnetic pulses are coming out of the planet. Now here's that earthquake we were talking about. It's so far north that it barely shows up on the map. And that one came in as we did show prep, north of Svalbard at 85 degrees north latitude. And looking at the past 24 hours of earthquake, we see a deep quake here at Alaska at a 4.7 magnitude. That one coming in at 9 o'clock Universal Time yesterday. Here's a quake 600 meters above sea level at California. And let's just scroll up the list here. And I'm just going to scroll up the list. Please bear with me. Just going to click on some quakes here. It looks like a small uptick around Oceania there, north of Australia. There's a deep quake in Indonesia, and we've seen an uptick in Indonesian deep quakes. There's one at the Azores, someplace I would like to vacation. Here's a 4.5 in Indonesia also, that one at 130 kilometers. Another deep quake at Alaska, and we've seen quite a few there in that southwestern region. Another deep quake north of there. Another deep quake in Indonesia. And please leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the new PC, folks. It's a pretty significant upgrade, and we're not done upgrading yet. There's going to be a lot more changes coming to everything. Here's a very shallow quake at Davis, California. Let's look at the location. And there's a location of that one right near Lake Davis. And check out the depth of that quake. It's at negative 1.9 kilometers, so 1,900 meters above sea level. And last but not least, a 4.7 at Papua New Guinea at depth. As we did show prep, that one coming in at 8:21 Universal Time. Next we're going to look at volcanoes. Sakurajima exploded. Unknown size ash cloud. Please don't fly your ultralight homemade aircraft over that. Mount Ibu exploding. 7,000 foot flight level there. Popocatépetl, 22,000 foot ash plume as it explodes. Sangay exploding also. 19,000 foot ash plume there. Revenador, 15,000 foot plume there as it explodes as well. Sabancaya also following suit, exploding, producing a 24,000 foot ash plume. Please do not attempt to pole vault Sabancaya. Next we'll go to windy.com and look at the pressure maps. We're going to just let that animate about 24 hours from now. And let's get me off the screen. Anyway, there's where things will be at 1 o'clock Universal Time tomorrow. Now, we did capture yet another coronal mass ejection. I guess I'm the only guy that sees this stuff. So here we are looking at the stereo A coronagraph once again, and we see yet another coronal mass ejection. And no, I will not be including that terminology in the title, because YouTube will demonetize our video because its search algorithms absolutely suck. So stop using Google as a search engine, and please stop using it as a verb, because it's nothing but junkware. Anyway, there's that coronal mass ejection. It's not facing Earth. Let me just explain where stereo A is. Stereo A is back here near Venus. Stereo B is out here. And there's where stuff is located in the solar system, and I would note one thing. We're going to have an alignment between the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury and the Earth on the 24th. And if that freaks you out, I feel sorry for you, but hey, it's going to happen. There's where things will be in 1 week, coming off of the new moon. I like to know what's going on above my head also, so I like to use in-the-sky.org to make myself a sky chart. If you're wondering where I'm located, it's in eastern Pennsylvania, and there is a very close conjunction between the moon and Mars going on right now. It's 4:43 a.m. Do you know where your constellations are? Next, we're going to look at lightning. And Australia is getting hammered. Shout out to Kimberly. Some serious lightning off the coast there. Southeast of Canberra. And you can see those lightning strikes coming in there. In the East Gippsland Marine Park. If you're fishing, you may want to get below decks. Next, how about a value-added service? It's the Weather Underground U.S. Doppler Radar Map. And it looks like I may have to drive through some snow today as I work for the food safety supply chain. And for you new viewers out there, I'm located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, right around where this little point of New Jersey sticks out there, that little bend in the Delaware River. At Easton, I'm just west of there, in the Lehigh Valley. And no, I won't be more specific. There's where stuff is in terms of Doppler radar, which is, by the way, measuring movement with ground-based microwave systems, movement vertically in the air column. Next, we'll look at the jet streams. It's nullschool.net. And we see extreme meridional jet stream flow here once again over Western Canada. A nearly 180-degree bend there in the jet stream. And we see a tripled up jet stream here over the U.S. and the South Pacific. Let's look at the eastern world. And there's the eastern world's jet streams. Extreme meridional jet stream flow. Look at that bend there over the Middle East. If you think CO2 causes that, well, take a physics class. Just take a physics class, please. Next, we'll take a look at the water vapor map over Europe and Africa. And there's the scenario there. It looks like some moisture is headed toward Ireland and England over the North Atlantic. And let's take a look at the U.S. water vapor map. And there's the current state of affairs in the U.S. We're going to look at the area over Tennessee. Shout out to David Dubine of Adapt 2030, one of our favorite channels on YouTube. Hopefully doing a call with David soon. And let's zoom in. And there's that pressure gradient area there. You see the dry air shown in red. And it's largely deflecting all that moisture. Remember, folks, dry air is more massive than moist air. So everybody pays attention to low pressure systems, but really the dry air is kind of what's in charge. Precipitation doesn't really run the atmosphere. High pressure systems run the atmosphere. And hey, it's a bonus feature. The video is basically complete. Looking at a 48-hour movie here of the local yellow dwarf. In the green, 94 angstroms. Again, we see some activity rising there in the east, but it's looking pretty weak. Small bright spot here, very far north. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on other social media as we're creating more and more exclusive content everywhere. Please consider becoming a patron if you haven't. It's patreon.com/smAsho, the real source of funding for this channel and all of our content, including websites, etc. Remember to stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back, and may the atherosclerosis be absent from your arteries. Your entire circulatory system. I know, veins don't grow atherosclerosis. Got it. Talk to you soon.